On this episode of the Wise Old Owl podcast, I'm really excited to have one of my favorite small business owners. Rosie Scavuzzo is going to join us, and she is the owner of Speducci Mercado, where I frequent a little bit too often. But welcome to the podcast, Rosie. I really got to get into it, but how have you managed to get to this point? You've reinvented yourself many times through COVID. You continue to come up with new concepts, ideas that always give us a wow factor. Tell us a little bit about how you started.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I think it's been a long time coming in terms of this business, where it started, where we are today. It's pretty unbelievable and exceptional. And my heart and my hats go off to my unbelievably supportive customers that supported me during COVID, support me during my special events, support me as ambassadors of my brand. I would be nowhere without the likes of you, without the likes of a lot of people that you see here at lunch every single day. So my hats are off to them, and I would be nowhere without them. Second to that, I have some amazing people behind me that support me from a business mentorship that have taken me off the ledge many, many times, especially during COVID, having the faith that we're going to get through it. And we did, and here we are today, and kind of started this business 9 years ago.
That long?
9 years. It's been 9 years. And started off with just the front counter butcher shop, small little restaurant, doing sandwiches, panini, espresso, kind of evolved the menu, communal tables, which were the best. During that time, just before COVID, everybody was meeting everybody here. It was, you sit with whoever, and business deals were being made and networking was being done. And it was just, you walk into this amazing community of everybody kind of knowing everybody.
One of the things I find about this place, I think it's the closest experience to a real Cheers. Remember when you walked into Cheers and everybody knows your name?
Yeah.
This is the closest thing to that, because whether it's me, my wife, my dad, who now says, can you come pick me up at the retirement home and let's go to Speducci, I want to try their soup.
Yeah.
Like when he walks in, Ola and the gang all welcome him. He feels special. And I think that's a testament of what is happening at the top of the chain.
I hope so.
I think you really lead by example.
I try.
You've come across a really interesting group of staff that probably care as much as this place as you do.
Couldn't agree more.
It shows in the experience, and the reinventing of this place over the last 9 years has been unbelievable.
Yeah. And to your point, and I didn't mention this earlier, but I have an unbelievable pool of talent here, starting with my head chef, Cleety, who has taken this to the next level. My servers have been here for 6 years with me. Some of my guys have been here since day one. It's really uncommon in the hospitality industry. A lot of, it's very transient. You kind of come in, it's a stepping stone for a lot of other career paths. But people love it here. They love the customers. At the end of the day, it's beyond extended family. I've seen, women pregnant and then with their kids coming in and then, with the carriage and then with the stroller and then just the whole thing. And then they're walking. It's like first communion, confirmation, weddings, baptisms. It's just, and, almost brings tears to my eyes when I see, if I haven't seen somebody in a while, I'm like, oh my God, he's grown so much. And it's just, I don't know. So it's a great, it's just
the product of all that comes from the challenges that you've had to face throughout COVID.
Yeah.
That was a tough period because you had to be very versatile. You had to be on your feet. You always had to be thinking. And you kind of created some interesting concepts that really resonated with your client base.
Well, when you don't sleep during COVID, you figure out, oh God, what am I going to do next?
So, how do you continuously reinvent yourself? Because you've done that maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 6 years. And it takes its toll, but everybody buys into it and everybody understands your vision. So your communication must be clear, concise. How tough is that?
It's not easy, but when you have a vision of something that you want to accomplish, and you're steadfast on it and you get buy-in because you get excited and you're like, this is what's going to happen. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Perfect example is we had Goto here last year, and we weren't sure if we were going to get him. And it's just like, no, put it out to the universe. Everybody get positive. We're going to get this guy in here, and we're going to do whatever it takes to do it. And everybody was just like, okay, talk to whoever. Let's make this happen. Let's make this happen. And from, you know, the chefs down the line to the servers, everybody just said, okay, it's going to happen. And it did, and it was
I was there.
So magical.
I was there.
So
my wife's
magical.
not Italian, and she loved it.
Yeah,
so
it was crazy.
It was quite an event, and it was intimate. It was really cool. Food was fabulous, and you turned this place into a really nice venue.
Yeah, it was a concert
and
at the end of the day.
acoustics in here are also great.
Yeah, and you know, we just kind of got lucky with the high ceilings and just the way that Goto kind of presented himself. It was just uncut and raw. And he was nervous. I've never seen, you know, somebody that big be nervous because he's in front of people. He's like, I've never been so close to people before. So that was, you know, really welcoming to see.
You know, we come here quite a bit. And, you know, my wife's favorite time is Friday nights. And she wants to be at the bar. Yeah. And you've added that big TV.
Yep.
And you now show movie clips from the 50s all the way to 2024. Yeah. And they're little clips, 10, 15-second clips of each era, each year. And it's just something that we sit there and like, oh, I remember that. And it just really makes the evening a wonderful one because everybody's kind of like, oh, I remember that movie.
Well, it gets people talking at the bar.
Exactly.
So if you don't know people, it's like, oh my God, remember that? And then you don't realize.
Who came up with that idea?
Well, I was surfing and I was like, okay, let me look at some old vintage pictures. Let me look at, you know, places in Italy. Let me look at, you know, something that's going to, you know, not entertain, but have some of that, you know, communication at the bar. Because you come to the bar for that experience. You know, if you want a table, it's a little bit more intimate. Maybe you're on a first date. But when you're at the bar, you're at the mercy of the bartender. You're at the mercy of what's going on TV. So you want something that's going to captivate people.
So where'd you get all this? Because you didn't start here.
No.
Like I probably should have asked this at the beginning of the interview, but where did you start?
So prior to here, I was at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment for about 10 years, managing the Air Canada Club, which is an experience unto itself.
It is.
If you've ever been there.
We go there quite a bit before the games.
So great, unbelievable experience there. I learned so much from just the corporate perspective and bringing that into this business where it's a little bit corporate here, but at the end of the day, it's really, you know, my decision, my vision, where you're not sitting at a table where, oh, if we do this, what's going to happen? And you're looking at projections and sales and forecasts. It's not like that in the front end of things, but in the back end of things it is.
But what's interesting about the way you run this place, and you know, we can talk about the food and the experience all we want, but the one thing I always find you do, and I watch you in action, you visit every table.
I try.
You're not necessarily serving every table, but you make sure you visit every table.
Absolutely.
And you ask people, is everything okay?
All the time.
Is that something that Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment
yes and no.
Because they kind of do that when I've noticed that, because that attention to detail and making sure everything is okay is that extra touch that makes people say, wow, somebody cares.
Well, it's that, and it's building the relationship. So you have a customer coming in once for the first time. You really want to obviously put your best foot forward and, you know, meet the team. And here's who we are. They have a great experience. They'll come back a second time. They come back a second time and they bring somebody else, you know that they are okay. They're kind of bragging about the place. They come in and like, oh, I have this place. It's somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And then they bring in somebody.
Well, that's the key.
And then by like the third or fourth visit, you know that they become friends at the end of the
Rosie,
day. So
every time I bring somebody here for the first time, it's always somebody I want to impress, right? Because they drive up to this place and they're like, where the fuck am I? Yeah. Where, like, what's going on? This is like an industrial, like, where's Vince?
And then you turn the corner and
you turn the corner and there's like, can't find parking. Every car imaginable is parked out front. And then they come in here and it's like, holy shit. So you set the expectation down here, the delivery is up here. And it's just like, Vince, when can we come back?
Yeah. Well, we try to do things, you know, our food first and foremost is top notch, no question about it. And I always tell my guys in the kitchen, please don't worry about what it costs. That's my job. My job is to make sure that it's run properly, things are paid for, high quality ingredients. I don't want my chefs kind of going through, oh, this is this price, but we can get it better over here. No, just get the best possible ingredients and the dish is going to be beautiful. You know, I learned a lesson from Steve Jobs. Stick to quality and the profits will come.
This place prevents me from losing weight.
That's not my fault. That's not my fault.
The food is exceptional.
That's not my fault.
But it's always a pleasure to come here. I want to delve into an issue that I know is near and dear to you. You've done a lot of work with the BIA in the area, the community. You were very eager to get the Liberal cabinet minister in for a discussion about the carbon tax. I was humbled that you asked me to come out and talk to Minister Hussein. What's bothering you about that issue and how's it impacting your business?
Great question. What bothers me is that it needs to make sense, first and foremost. I understand what the government's trying to do to reduce emissions and to make things greener, and I get that. There's nobody that understands that more. The problem and the concern that I have is that it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense that you take from a small business to the tune of close to almost $15,000 on that one line item. That's not changing my business. So let me make it make sense. If you take $15,000 from me and you put it towards what I don't know, because nobody has the answer, where it is actually going to make things better, and I've asked and there's been no answer on that. But if you give me that money back in the rebate, which we're supposed to get, which small businesses have not received yet, then I can make changes to my business. But you're continuing to take the tax from me, but my business is still operating the same.
And that's important,
so
right?
Make it make sense.
And this is what I think these governments are trying to pit and divide people that we're anti-carbon or we're not. But the reality is the purpose of the carbon tax is to change behavior. And you want to know what you can do to change your behavior. So when we had Minister Hussein in, we took him for a tour. You took him for a tour of the freezers, the kitchens, because there's multiple kitchens in here. And that's running 24/7. That pilot light's on 24/7. You have health guidelines to meet.
Absolutely.
You have to keep produce and meat at a certain temperature. You got to cook meat at a certain temperature so it's safe, can be consumed safely. And there's really no alternative.
No.
Right? And what I took away from that meeting was the sheer ignorance that the minister didn't even know that there was an HST on the carbon tax.
I would argue that he knew and
he didn't want to admit it.
Maybe didn't want to admit it. And he was very gracious to come and speak to us. For sure.
And, you know, I'm not a big popular guy when it comes to political circles, so I'll take the heat for that. But the reality is when someone claims ignorance for a simple concept like that, I find them ingenuous. They're not being sincere with their constituents. They're not being fair to the process. And since 2019, small businesses have paid between $2.5 to $5 billion.
Yeah.
And they're struggling.
And the PM promised a rebate. Here's my, the question that I asked him is, here's an article from the Globe that the PM promised small business a rebate. They're holding on to over $2.5 billion for small business. And I asked him definitively, it was a definitive question. I want to know when small business can expect the rebate, how it's calculated, and when are we getting it? It's been 3 years. And am I getting interest on that at this point? Because the money is not equal to what it was 3 years ago because of inflation.
Yes.
But that's not going to be taken into consideration for small business, which is another another thorn on small business to continuously figure out how to get through another wave of inflation. COVID was one thing, and now small businesses are being taxed with another tax of this carbon. And it just doesn't make sense anymore. It's coming at a time where restaurants, especially in the hospitality industry, are just getting out of COVID, getting their, starting to, from crawling to walking. And now we've got this burden and there's no rebate for us. So it doesn't make sense. Like, don't say something and don't deliver. Like, be good on your word. Be good to the people that are employing 60 plus people in small business, and sometimes larger than that. You know, it's disheartening to hear it, that we were supposed to get a 9% and then it just went down to 5%. Well, what difference does it make at this point? Because we haven't received anything to begin with.
And there's a lot of businesses struggling and not even being able to keep their doors open anymore. So once they go bankrupt, they don't even get anything.
And exactly, to that point, exactly. So they put in all this money and it's not going anywhere. It's not being reinvested back into small business, which was my point to the minister. If you're going to take from me and I get the rebate back at some point, I'm assuming some point, then I need to be able to reinvest that back into my business and make the changes that you want me to make. I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to be a business owner that, oh my God, this tax, the government overreach, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be that person. I want to be able to put my best foot forward and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do to make that change. And I want to be part of the solution.
Was the minister able to get back to you since we last met?
Not yet.
Not yet. When you think about taxation on small business, how does that impact the employees that work here? Like, are you having to start thinking about scheduling and tightening things up? And does that impact your level of service to a degree?
Every day we look at what's coming in. We look at, today's solar eclipse. I have no idea. Was it going to be super, super busy and then everybody leaving at 1:30 to go outside, or 2:30? I don't know. I kind of was like, okay, guys, here's what's going to happen today. At 1:30, 2 o'clock, if we're quiet and everybody wants to go and watch the eclipse, knock your socks off. Go ahead. So every day we look at, who's coming in, reservations, staffing levels. You don't want to overstaff, but you don't want to understaff. It's a game that you literally play every day. And it usually starts a couple days before the date comes. So yeah, it's
How many staff do you got now?
63.
A lot of familiar faces too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's full time, that's part time, that's management, that's, myself included. So, we've got a good roster.
So as you start to navigate all these pitfalls, taxes and carbon taxes, how do you position yourself for the next 6 months? Do you look at half years or years out, or are you quarter to quarter?
No, we look at the full year. We look at the full year. We budget for we forecast for the full year, and we have senior meetings every month. We go through, okay, where are we at? What do we want to do? And what projects do we want to work on? So everybody's got their area of expertise that they take care of, and I kind of run the ship to where, if something's not working, okay, we need to make changes here, or we need to make changes, in this area. I've got something that we're going to be working on next week, and it's going to be a huge, huge strategy program. We're going to be officially launching Uber Eats, which it's going to be big. It's going to be big. We said no during the last year only because we didn't have enough space to handle.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, so it's going to be big. We're going to start small and grow it a little bit at a time.
So anybody who's looking for Speducci Mercado on Uber Eats, they got to watch this and be ready. It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
Is it going to be a limited menu or a full-fledged?
Well, we're going to start off slow. We're going to get our feet wet, kind of master what we're going to do first, and then we're going to add on items as we are, building. It's a business within a business, and it has to be treated as almost a secondary business within the realm of Speducci. I wasn't huge on it last year just because we wanted to make sure what we were doing here in the restaurant, the guests were being serviced. We had enough kitchen space. We had our systems and procedures down packed. We're there now. Now we can take on Uber Eats. And we've been approached many times, and I said, we're not ready. We're not ready. We're ready.
I want to go back to the government issue. We talked about the federal government on the carbon tax. Is the provincial government and the municipal government involved in your business in different aspects at all? Is it mostly just licensing at the municipal level?
No, it's just licensing.
And is health and safety municipal or provincial?
Provincial.
Okay, so you are dealing with all three levels of government.
Yeah.
And the pain point is the federal one.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And, when I speak on behalf of a lot of restaurants and a lot of small businesses, just literally are scratching their head going, how can this be a burden to us right now? And 23%, okay, 3%, 4%, 5%, even 10% is you can swallow. But, when you're at the tune of paying $15,000 $1,000 for one line item on a gas bill in a small business.
Plus the HST.
Plus the HST on top of that. You got to scratch your head a little bit and go, what are the feds doing here? Do they just want to like completely annihilate small business? You know, we're the backbone of this country. You know, small business is culture. It's experience. It's day-to-day meeting people day-to-day. It's not this big corporate, you know, entity where you don't know who your butcher is or you don't know who's running the business. You know, we're the backbones of this country and we're just being treated like
shit.
I don't know, it's head scratching. I don't get it.
So if you had a magic wand and you could implement 3 things that would be beneficial to both your business and the government, what would they be?
3 things?
2 things.
2 things, maybe. Well, rebate, first of all.
Okay.
Keep your promise to small business and give the small business their rebate. And if it comes back to a point where the government says, okay, you're going to get your rebate, but you need to do something for it. I'm about change. I'm about, you know, I would do that. I would better my business and with that rebate, if we were to get it, I would reinvest back into my business. And then, I don't know, the second thing, government-wise, it's a little bit of an overreach right now. I won't go back to the COVID days with the bylaw officers and everything that was happening to small business and, you know, post-COVID disorder, I still think I have at this point. I think just the government has to just let up a little bit and just really support small business now. I think more than ever, because they haven't been able to really come out of COVID the way that the government kind of put out in the media that, oh, business is back to normal. Well, it's not back to normal. And it never has been back to normal since COVID. There's still a lot of people staying at home. Go downtown. Look at what's happening downtown. It's a ghost town.
The path is just
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's very bad.
And people need to get back into the office because it's a spiral. If people don't go to the office,
well, the productivity is just the shits.
It's gone to nothing. Like, it's embarrassing at this point.
Switching gears a little bit on the carbon tax issue a minute. I want to focus a little bit on Enbridge and Hydro.
Okay.
Have they been doing their part in helping you understand what's going on there?
No. So I called Enbridge and they said, go to the federal government's website and figure out your calculation. Like, I'm not a mathematician. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm not in calculus. Well, you're not
alone, because a lot of people say, I don't know how this calculates.
I don't know how this calculates. I have no idea. So how am I supposed to help my business when I don't even understand how they're billing me? That carbon tax is actually higher than my gas bill. So I'm like, well, what's it being calculated on if it's actually higher than my gas bill? It makes no sense. So it's head scratching at this point. And what's it going to look like in May and June and July when the 23% comes in? I have no idea. I can't even budget for it.
I just gotta get more people to show up here.
Oh yeah, we're doing
patio's opening soon.
Patio's opening soon. Yeah, we've got some great cocktails.
So I wanna finish up with a little bit about you. How do you unwind at the end of the day? What's your go-to dish? What's your go-to drink?
Go-to dish. It varies. I've been on this little bit of a crazy health kick lately, so it's been, a lot of high protein.
So we're gonna get some healthy desserts soon?
Yeah, probably. But I think my go-to dish, honestly, and it's so simple. It's just a plain penne pomodoro with tomato sauce, and that's it, and a glass of red.
By Cleedy or Laura?
It depends on who's still here. Usually Chef Cleedy, because him and I are kind of late in the kitchen, and Laura does her thing. But just honestly, it's just a simple plate of pasta. It's just that's my go-to. That's my comfort food.
And your drink?
Glass of red.
Glass of red. What kind?
Glass of red. With the pasta, I'm gonna say probably a Pinot, something a little bit lighter. Yeah.
So, what can we expect from Speducci Mercado in the next 6 months?
Okay. Big news. So Uber Eats is going to come out. We're very excited about that. We're extending our hours.
Oh.
So Tuesdays, we're going to go until 9 o'clock. You'll see that on our social posts, Instagram. And Fridays and Saturdays, we're going to go until 11. So
11?
Yeah. So we're going to extend. No, 11.
I know, but now it's 10 or 9?
9.
9. So we're going to 11.
Yeah. So we're going to go to 11 on Fridays and Saturdays.
Music coming back?
Music is probably coming back after May 2-4 weekend.
Cool.
So we just, you know, with the garage doors open, it's just, it's a little bit more lively, having the patio going. And I think there was one more thing that I don't want to announce it because I don't have the official word yet. So I'm waiting.
But you got a couple of events coming up.
I do.
And you have
Cowboys and Cocktails.
Cowboys and Cocktails.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a fun one.
So April 27th, if anybody was here last year, when we did it, it was off the charts. There were about 30 cars left here from that night.
Oh, they need Uber.
I think I spent $500 in Uber for my customers because I didn't want anybody driving. It was one of the best nights we've ever had here. It was so much fun. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody's like, when are you doing it again? When are you doing it again? April 27th.
Well, Rosie, I want to thank you for everything you do. Like,
pleasure.
Not only coming out and chatting about the issues of the day and how you run your business, but the way you've treated myself, my staff, my clients, my family. You guys have just knocked it out of the park.
Thank
and
you.
it's very much appreciated. So thank you for sitting down.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And for anybody that wants to have a great time,
Cowboys and Cocktails.
This place is this is the place to be. Speducci Mercado. Make it out here. You'll enjoy the food. You won't regret it.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you.